They say it's good to be bad, but is it any good to be the architect for bad people? What I mean is somebody did design all those evil buildings we have scattered around the world. Not like in some video games, they definitely didn't sprout up on their own. Even the buildings in Jeffrey Epstein's island, somebody did design them, right? Well, that's another topic. Despite the moral compass issue, architects more than often build for bad people. Most architects are usually driven by passion for their profession and can be manipulated easily to do someone's bidding in the name of legacy, storytelling, history, money, large and large sums of money. Or if I was a supervillain, I'd just force the architect. Come on, it's easy. Plan my lair, or your firstborn will be dropped into the pit full of mutated lava crocodiles. And it should work, right? Well, knowingly or unknowingly, many buildings are used for evil and to perform atrocities. For example, the gas chambers during the Second World War, the re-education centers for Uyghurs in China, that pointy tall building in North Korea, the Pentagon. By the way, it's actually a pentagram disguised as a pentagon. They definitely summon demons over there and perform ritual sacrifice. I'm kidding. But the list goes on and on. But that's also another topic. The evil building we're going to talk about today are the evil Lair from all popular media franchises that have left a mark in people's memory. Whether it's because they had a torture chamber, a monster chamber, a pit full of lava under the living room, or dungeons with do-gooders imprisoned just below their bedrooms, or a nuclear missile silo in their laboratory. Whatever it is, if it's evil enough, we'll count them all down. Also, no Death Star, no alien motherships, because those are spaceships. Also, no whole cities like Rapture from Bioshock or whole planet like Apocalypse. We'll only include the stuff that can be evaluated architecturally to an extent. So, let's go.
The nerdy architect.
Now before the main list, let's go through some honorable mentions. There were many, like Mojo Jojo's lair atop a volcano, the Citadel from Half-Life 2, Magneto's Asteroid M, a hideout that's built on an asteroid, Ant's Castle from Pokemon Black and White. These were definitely some of the things among many I wanted to put on the list, but there were more awesome things that hold more nostalgia and influence across the nerd culture. So with that said, the first honorable mention. The tower in the center of Isengard, Orthanc, is definitely one of the most memorable part of the Lord of the Rings franchise. Gandalf's visit and his escape from the tower make for an iconic sequence in the first movie. The siege upon Isengard at the end of the second movie shapes a perfect intermediate ending. The final movie begins at Orthanc, making it an integral part of the whole franchise. As much as it was memorable, the tower was perfect for Saruman the White as its headquarters to do bidding for Sauron the Dark Lord. The top of the tower is used by Saruman to cast his spells, and it paved the way for how most wizard towers in those tower defense games were used. Something about this suburban home just screams to be noticed. But in a sense, Gru isn't a supervillain because he sort of is a protagonist of the story. So this becomes more like a superhero lair by the end of the first movie rather than being a supervillain lair. Still, I put down the list as Gru still identifies as a supervillain, and I'm not going to be the one who's gonna debate with Gru whether his house is a super house or a supervillain house. Let's move on to the design. The house has a living quarters above the ground and an expansive evil lab filled with the minions and a scientist under the ground. It's nifty and homely for a supervillain home. Dr. Evil's lair looks way better than Mount Rushmore. Fight me. Maybe it's because I haven't actually seen Mount Rushmore in person. Also, I'd totally be down with Dr. Evil running for the president. Trust me, he will keep us way more entertained than our current roster of presidents. Dr. Evil has style, and you need a special set of balls to make a whole mountain your home. And another additional special set of balls because the mountain is an active volcano. And let's not stop there, you need one more set of those special balls to save that active volcano mountain to your likeness. Talk about going all in. A lot of respect for Dr. Evil.
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated!
One of the most iconic cartoon buildings is the home of the nefarious inventor/scientist you may know as Doofenshmirtz. He's the arch nemesis of Platypus Perry, and he dreams of taking over the world. Well, for someone who dreams of taking over the world, you will need an evil base to reflect that ambition. The Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated building is exactly that. Apart from a good view of the city, the whole building as well, it has a lot of things going on for it. Even Power Rangers buildings that turn into Megazord might fall short to the shenanigans Doofenshmirtz can cause using his Evil Incorporated building. And it literally has evil as its middle name. He's not even hiding it. Good for him. The faction that serve as the arch enemy of the Justice League, the Injustice League, use the Hall of Doom as their base. This base is shaped like a dome or a helmet or the head of Tentacruel and can move around. The building can go underground, can fly, can swim, and can submerge. It can even turn into a spaceship and go to outer space. It's a building with a lot of skills, and that is why it made it to the list. It is highly secured, and it's a perfect hideout for a bunch of no-good Samaritans. Now we're done with honorable mention. It's time to count down the best, the top 10, the most evil lairs of all time.
Number 10.
Nothing screams evil more than this building atop a volcano with a giant snake sculpture coiling around of it. I wish He-Man got a good modern depiction so that Skeletor could do his evil magic to the current generation as well. He was evil and funny at the same time. Despite just being bare bones, the man expresses more emotional range, and if you tell any kid to come up with an evil building, then this would probably be the result. A cobra and a volcanic mountain making up a building. Some of its depictions make it look like there are several other creatures, making the Snake Mountain look like a chimera. Snake Mountain is the definition and structurization of evil lair.
Number 9.
The boys have taken over the superhero genre after it was turned into the TV show, and Vought Tower has found its place as one of the scariest evil lair, housing one of the scariest villains to ever exist, the Homelander. The worst part, Homelander is considered a superhero in the Boys' universe. This guy can even give other supervillains a run for their money, and Vought Tower, being the headquarters of the Vought, the biggest company in the universe of the Boys, it is the perfect supervillain lair hidden in the clothing of a superhero building. And you can call Wolf as much as you want, no one will believe you because we all love Homelander. He's our boy. The Vought Tower is designed like a skyscraper. The base of the tower though is an actual building called Roy Thompson Hall, located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The upper portion is filled in by CGI. There's an indentation in the building shaped like 7, and the dark, imposing glass facade makes it look pretty evil. And with its current reputation, it has found its way to this list.
Number 8.
What would you make for yourself if you owned a whole country? Giant missiles? Why not? Fancy armors? Sure. An army of robots? Oh yeah. And all this comes with one of the biggest medieval castles you can find in Europe. Castle Doom in Latveria is the home of the supervillain, the arch nemesis of the Fantastic Four, Dr. Victor Von Doom, or Dr. Doom. Most iterations of Castle Doom depict it as a medieval castle, and even in modern times it endures that old look. The castle actually existed from the 15th century before it was taken over by Dr. Doom. Just like most European castles, the Doomstad stands atop a hill looking over the kingdom of Latveria. Dr. Doom being a scientist and a leader of the state at the same time, his castle has things that can actually cause the doomsday. It's also secured by a bunch of Doombots, robots that resemble Dr. Doom in their likeness. I mean, Dr. Doom doesn't even trust anyone apart from himself with his security. What a guy, ain't he? The castle is actually designed to its architectural level rather than to just an artistic level, which is very nice to see in this kind of buildings.
Number 7.
Let me first say spoiler alert if you haven't already watched The Watchmen or watched it a long time ago and have forgotten everything except for Dr. Manhattan's blue penis. Except for that, the movie is a masterpiece and even has one of the coldest supervillains, the one and only Ozymandias. The cold-hearted mastermind Ozymandias has his lair on the icy frozen land of Antarctica, where he built the capital of his kingdom inspired by the Egyptian temple complex of Karnak. There, in the cold continent, Ozymandias built his own Karnak from where he plans to save the world. But his means to the end, his ultimate plan to save the world, to make humanity stop fighting each other, let's say, it's kind of similar to that of Thanos' plan. By that I mean he's plotting to sacrifice countless innocent lives and hold the whole world at the gunpoint so that they stop fighting each other. And the sad part, he's one of those rare supervillains who actually succeeds in carrying out his master plan, and no one could stop him, not even the godlike Dr. Manhattan himself, because his plan, although evil, actually succeeds in bringing the world peace. His lair, Karnak, is made up of cold metal and is very brutal in design. It's a science complex with high-tech facilities like intrinsic fields of structure that gave Dr. Manhattan his powers. And it's also very cozy with vivariums and terrariums that house animals and plants. There's a cozy meditation chamber, pool, a bunch of art, and it definitely screams luxury along with evil. Karnak is a solid supervillain lair.
Number 6.
From 2D to 3D, from 1980s to the present date, Bowser's castle has stood tall, sometimes even gotten airborne, and it has been a definitive nightmare for video gamers since its advent. The castle is stacked with lava, fireballs, traps, enemies, and everything to kill you or incinerate you into crisps. Most iterations of the castle have a large Bowser face on the entrance, which is not very architecturally considerate, but well, it perfectly represents Bowser and its personality. And since we're counting down how evil a design looks, I gotta give Bowser's architectural choice an A+ in that criteria. As we said earlier, there are many variations of Bowser's castle, but the one that gives the best experience is definitely from the Mario Kart series. In this, you take a tour in and around the castle, avoiding fire, lava and traps, and all this as Bowser's huge headpiece glares at every Mario Kart contestant. There are several other notable designs of Bowser's castle, and even the one in the new movie looks spectacular. Bowser being one of the most baddest bosses in the popular media, his castle definitely demands respect and reflects his menace.
Number 5.
There have been many evil team headquarters in the Pokemon series. Almost in every movie and game there is some sort of really flashy evil base. But for me, the most iconic villain base will have to be Mewtwo's new island base from the first movie. Mewtwo, despite being the first generation Pokemon, is still probably one of the most enigmatic of all Pokemon. Just like Mewtwo, the island Mewtwo called home for a while also looks enigmatic. Mewtwo, being one of the most powerful and the intelligent of all the beings in the Pokemon universe, probably designed its own home by itself. Psychic powers definitely helped a lot, as the entrance of the building for normal people like you and me starts from the seas underneath the island. You climb up the stairs along the rocks and emerge onto the main portion of the building, making for an epic reveal. The building is a perfect lair. There's a coliseum to hold battles on, a lab to clone Pokemon, a weird looking windmill, and a lot of fancy luxury stuff. Mewtwo absolutely got some style. The building is creepy looking and good looking at the same time. It has got curves and markings that make it look organically shaped, giving the hints that it's probably made by using psychic powers. It's just my opinion, but I don't think human counterparts in Pokemon can compete at all with Mewtwo's designs. I feel like it was kind of inspired by Alien's mothership at the first glance, but Mewtwo definitely made it look awesome.
Number 4.
One of the most enduring locations depicted as evil across a lot of popular media, from mythology to video games to movies, is the Tartarus, the realm of Hades. And at the deepest part of Tartarus is the House of Hades, the palace of the dead, the center of the underworld. From Greek myths to Rordian books to the 2018 video game Hades, it was a hard thing. Which exact depiction of Hades' palace do I choose? But I decided this time we won't be going into it. Instead, we'll be escaping it. Meaning, once you roam as Hades' son Zagreus inside the halls of Tartarus in the 2018 video game title and get intimate with the interiors, you'll definitely get attached to it. This version of Tartarus is charming, teeming with life, personality, awesome characters, and it's really well designed. As Zagreus, the main character, you get your own room and you can see how your father, the main antagonist of the game Hades, lives and works. There's a garden, a training room, an awesome dining and a kitchen area, really great looking great hall, a trophy room, and a bunch of souls doing Hades' bidding. This version of the Hades' palace is just great and spectacularly represents the essence of the underworld.
Number 3.
Star Wars is chock full of good designs, but nothing beats Jabba's palace as an evil lair. Always makes me wonder if it was the architect's idea to design that concealed door trap that drops the people into the Rancor pit below. I mean, no architect is smart or vile enough to pitch that idea. It could have only come from the evil mind of Jabba himself. I actually thought the trapdoor was where the vent was, but it's not. It's in this really weird spot just in front of Jabba's throne. So I redesigned its location, just me being a compulsive architect as always. Anyways, Jabba's palace has been iconic since the advent of Star Wars. Just like Jabba, the palace has a lot of personality. Lore-wise, Jabba's palace used to be a monastery belonging to monks of Bomar order. The enlightened monks of the order practiced a weird ritual of transplanting their brain into a nutrient-filled jar that kept the brain alive. And sometimes these brains were housed in a mechanical spider drone that could enable the brains to go into their own adventures. Jabba, even after taking over, kept the Bomar monks around because he was fascinated with their practice and even sometimes let them extract the brains of his enemies. Well, you can't compete with Jabba when it comes to being truly vile. Jabba's palace is almost like a small town in itself. It's really complex and has extensive chambers that go into the landscape. It has a lot of tinkering facilities, it's guarded with mercenaries and sentry towers. It has prison chambers to store prisoners that are frozen in carbonite. And just in case you fear more annoying, Jabba will throw you into his pit inhabited by a vicious rancor. that is apparently there to tear you into pieces. Apart from all the evil, the palace also has a hydroponic farm so that Jabba can grow his favorite veggies and Nom Nom on his favorite treats. Let's say it's a completely sustainable evil lair.
Number 2.
It wasn't that hard to pick Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower from where the Eye of Sauron watches over the dark lands of Mordor. Honorable mention did go to the tower at the center of Isengard, but it is not much when compared to the glory of Dark Tower of Mordor. Sauron is probably the most evil being to exist in the Tolkienverse, the darkest of the Dark Lords, the successor of Morgoth, and his lair, Barad-dûr, is from where the spirit of Sauron commands the legions of the foul army. Sauron himself is Barad-dûr. His spirit endures and possesses the tower. The foundations of the tower, just like Sauron himself, cannot be destroyed unless the One Ring itself is destroyed. From the top of the Dark Tower, the fiery eye of the Dark Lord looks at the Middle-earth ceaselessly searching for his One Ring. The image of Barad-dûr has been famous for almost 2 decades since the release of the movies, and it is imprinted in the memory of many Lord of the Rings fans. It is undoubtedly one of the most iconic and enduring of all evil hideouts. Let's just be glad Frodo, Samwise, the Fellowship and the people of Middle-earth succeeded in taking it down. Gotta love the happy endings.
Number 1.
There is no need for a building when you can rule the universe while sitting on a fancy flying space chair. But nice try, Thanos, nice try. Impressive chair you have got there, buddy. But it's not a house, is it? I mean, where do you go if you need to go to the sitter, huh, my man? Have you seen me stand up from this chair? No, actually, you've been sitting there for the whole damn week. And you've also been eating a lot of Cheetos. There, you have your answer. Forget I asked, Thanos. I hope that chair is a Japanese toilet, and if it's not, you do you, buddy. But now, the real, actual number 1.
Number 1.
There aren't many times in your life when you see something and you instantly respect it. Dracula's castle is so overwhelming to experience that you just want to get on your knees, call it mommy, and ask it to do bad things to you. Don't mind me. I've got a thing for buildings. The Dracula's castle we're going to talk about today has been made infamous by Castlevania series, where the main character, that's me by the way, I'm the main guy, invade the Dracula's castle to vanquish its lord, Count Dracula.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you?
And send the evil but good-looking castle back into the underworld. And let me tell you, it's an exuberant amount of fun. You'll find the castle infested with monsters, bosses, secrets, booby traps, characters of all sorts, giant machines, weird magical technologies and things I cannot even name. The whole game, the series, revolves around this castle, hence the name Castlevania. It also played a huge part in making one of my favorite genres of video game, the Metroidvania. In the animated TV show, the castle looks even more imposing and it's beautifully made. The building style, I'd say, is gothic fantasy architectural style, and heavens, it looks amazing and it's really detailed. If somebody wants to conquer the world, I got a heads up for you. Just replicate the design of that castle and all the world will bow down to you, I guarantee it. If you want to explore the castle for yourself, go grab a Castlevania game. I'd recommend the Nintendo DS ones or the amazing Symphony of the Night, or you can just watch the TV shows. So with that said, the list ends. This thing really took longer than I expected and a shit ton of research. Well, hope you had a good time. You can tell me in the comment section if I missed anything, what I should change. And that's it. Till the next time.
So Fry, was the real moon anything like the moon you used to dream about?